What was the joke that he said that they had in the office? Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word. That was like one of his gripes. That's funny. Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word, and nobody wants to talk about that. Shane Dawson in all of his conspiracy videos, he wouldn't even talk about that, dude. I want to have Ethan on my channel to talk about Alex Rosen and his criticisms. I want to have them debate, okay? I want to have the debate of a lifetime. He'll never make a video actually responding to it because he knows. I think he knows he can't. He knows that wouldn't go well for him. I don't think he cares about coming out on top of the drama because he definitely didn't come out on top, and he never will. Ethan like gets mad at someone and he just like he just starts making out with them.
I believe the racist IQ system.
Is IQ racist? I've never even heard that argument. All right, let's watch this video about Ethan. Ethan is online, a commentary paradox. A commentary paradox, okay?
Someone that I have been keeping tabs on for quite some time now, who I firmly believe is a detriment to his own reputation and the reputation of others, has been a little-known creator by the name of EthanIsOnline.
Why'd you have to use that picture, bro?
What first made me really start paying attention to this person and their catalog of garbage ideas and opinions was the whole SuperMega situation of last year. To give a brief summary of this series of events, it was essentially another allegation case where a former member of SuperMega, a gaming media channel, came out against another member, which led to a cancellation campaign.
And that's not exactly accurate. Lex is not a member of SuperMega. She was just their friend.
Lex Updog released a video where she presents grievances she had in regards to the members of the SuperMega channel. While telling her story, she described her experience as traumatizing and smeared members of SuperMega in an extremely exaggerated and distorted display. Out of personal vitriol, not only did she smear SuperMega, but also accused a member, Dawn, of sexual assault. It was clear there was a bias in regards to her overall separation from Dawn and SuperMega, biases that were spread within her personal circle of quote-unquote friends, and by that I mean one particular example in this case, Nick is not green. Nick decided to cover the allegations and biased complaints from Lex Updog and added his own antithetical ideas and opinions. As a result, Nick released a bad faith, personally driven hit piece video called SuperMega is full of horrible people. To learn more about this topic, which I'm not going to explain in detail since it's a drama, please check out these videos here. Nick's coverage of the situation was so deceptive and bad faith that the commentary community and even other figures outside of it questioned the validity of Nick and his commentary. This led Nick's credibility as a commentator himself to outright crumble, as it was clear that he couldn't handle serious issues in a way that did not pander to a specific audience or wasn't filled to the brim with bias and virtue signaling. Not only was his reputation ruined, but the backlash he received resulted in a heavy hit to his channel. Due to his crumbling presence on YouTube, ultimately he had no choice but to walk back his video and apologize for the situation. Not once, not twice, but more than 4 times now. While Nick received the brunt of the burn for what was the successful false cancellation of SuperMega following the drama, one person in this group of horrible people who came out of this even more terrible, even more annoying, and even more disgusting than before is EthanIsOnline. So let's start with SuperMega real quick as a point of criticism. This is something that people have brought up time and time again, but to have the gall to make a near 4-hour stream doing nothing but writing the downfall of a channel that was clearly targeted over slanted differences between personalities is something so incredibly petty that it really makes you start to wonder where Ethan's priorities and attentions lie. Instead of handling the situation maturely, Ethan behaves in a way that makes it very clear there's a personal grudge Ethan holds against these people, and it really starts making sense why this would be the case when you start connecting.
I mean, you don't even need to connect the dots here too much. He's dating the accuser. That's it. He's dating the, I would say, false accuser towards SuperMega. Maybe not towards Dawn, but we don't really know what happened there exactly. But yeah, I mean, he's literally just, he's dating her, right? He's dating her. And that's why he said like what was the joke that he said that they had in the office? Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word. That was like one of his gripes. That's funny. Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word, and nobody wants to talk about that. Shane Dawson in all of his conspiracy videos, he wouldn't even talk about that, dude. But clearly, Chuck E. Cheese's middle name is the N-word. You can look it up on FTC filings for the company, okay? That's real.
Connecting the dots. In my personal opinion and observation, there is probably a very loaded sense of envy and vengeful motive behind this behavior. Not that I know what's going on in Ethan's mind, but this behavior comes off as a really strong, in air quotes, I'm glad my partner's ex's career is getting torn to shreds over a very saturated and bad faith claim that even I don't know the extent of truth of sort of deal. Typically, I don't like to make these conjectures on my channel because there is no way of absolutely knowing, but the way Ethan responded to people after SuperMega's temporary shutdown.
This is a messaging sensitive society. What's up? Sounds like you have a lot to say about me online. You want to talk again? If not, get my get out of your mouth and make some real content. Hey friend, want to talk about SuperMega? Maybe your GF can come on. I'll happily talk to you about how those dipshits covered up her assault and lied about it. I know you'd much rather talk to her because you're scared of me, but I'm sure you can work up some courage. Maybe watch her video one time and do some research. Jeez. I still want to have Ethan on my channel. I know he won't do it, but I want to have Ethan on my channel to talk about Alex Rosen and his criticisms. I want to have them debate, okay? I want to have the debate of a lifetime. That'll be fire. And I won't even bring up the SuperMega stuff on that debate, by the way. I'll leave it at the door cuz I want to get to the heart of the EthanIsOnline stuff. Or sorry, the Alex Rosen criticisms.
Down goes to show that he had a lot of personally driven vitriol that even he couldn't justify at its entirety, because even he couldn't make valid defenses. When he was questioned about Lex Updog and the entirety of the drama, all he did was just have an angry, emotionally...
Why did you and Lex make false allegations, provably false for the way on SuperMega, and then throw Nick is not green under the bus? Just like how you and Lex threw Leighton under the bus, wanted an argument, so I'm here to provide one. What's the proof? There's like hour-long videos about it on YouTube that you haven't said anything about. You should box Ethan? Dude, I don't want to box Ethan. Maybe for a lot of money I would do it, but I don't want to box Ethan. I'm not like a tough person. I'm just not a tough person, but I don't think that would go that well for him, man. It's like punching a kid. Like
in 2022, there were 1,259 train derailments in the underpaid for the last 50.
Like, this guy is like fat. Why would I box this guy? Scared of boxing a twink? Is this guy a twink? I think he's just kind of overweight. I don't want to do that to him. I don't want to humiliate. That doesn't seem very nice, does it?
He fueled meltdown on Twitter, where he replied to everyone and anyone on Twitter for the sake of trying to save face. This just made him look worse, because instead of trying to justify Lex's behavior with facts and logic, all he did was just make unsubstantiated claims that state SuperMega covered up an essay, or that Lex's claims weren't being believed due to commentary channels miscontextualizing her story. Further,
but he never actually specified anything, by the way. He just says this random shit online. He'll never make a video actually responding to it, because I think he knows he can't. He knows that wouldn't go well for him.
On to that, he doesn't even explain how or why this is the case. He just says it with nothing to back up the argument. No additional details on why this or that person was wrong. Keep in mind that Lex's story was filled with holes and a twisted series of events. This was perpetuated by Leighton as well. When Don and SuperMega came out with their responses, a lot of the record was corrected, or Lex and Leighton were proven to be outright liars who hid details or said the exact opposite of what happened. Details such as Leighton's allegations that SuperMega was homophobic, or that SuperMega drove Lex to homelessness, are two notable examples of bold lies these people told.
Said they did nothing but helped me, and then gaslit me about it and made me homeless.
Which this again is a lie, and she voluntarily left on her own choice.
We did not throw them out. We did not make them homeless. Here is a text message where they're talking about leaving the office. Y'all have certainly gone above and beyond.
It is crazy that they lied about that, right? They literally lied about being homeless when they chose to leave. They weren't owed a place to stay at the SuperMega office.
On with your generosity and allowing us to crash for as long as y'all have, and we'd hate to overstay our welcome any further than we already have.
But Ethan doesn't care about the reality of a situation. He just cares about coming out on top of a drama he's emotionally and personally...
I don't think he cares about coming out on top of the drama, because he definitely didn't come out on top, and he never will. He's just dating Lex. He's like in love with her. So that's why. That's obviously why.
Invested in. He cares about his self-image so much that it wouldn't surprise me he behaved the way he did so that he wouldn't seem like a spineless, which, spoiler, he is. Maybe not the part, but he definitely is a spineless coward. After Nick reluctantly conceded in his overall fight with the commentary community and issued his final apologies, Lex and Ethan respectively were quick to unfriend him and start liking posts that talk negatively about Nick's coverage of the situation and Nick as a person.
Dude, I'm so curious what happened behind the scenes there, because clearly they have some kind of internal conflict. They have some issue. They're not friends anymore, you know? Liking tweets about how your former friend is like a shithead and ruined it for you. They're probably blaming him somehow for it up, even though they asked him to cover it. But I want to know what those conversations were like. What was going on in the group chat that night, you know? I'm so curious. We'll probably never figure it out, but I'm so curious.
We can assume that Ethan probably had a part in getting Nick to make that video, and if he did, it just goes to show how cowardly he is for just sweeping Nick under the rug.
I mean, we don't even need to assume it. Nick himself said that he asked them and they wanted him to cover it, right? So I think that's probably enough.
Nick got torn apart. Something I noticed about Ethan after hours of listening to and watching his brain cell eviscerating content is the fact that in every single one of his videos, he comes across as a very virtuous, caring, compassionate, kind, and intelligent individual. Psych! This dude is as pretentious gets, and virtue signals to the highest degree. I didn't even realize you could grift or pretend to care about things as hard as Ethan does.
It's called ideological subversion.
You are
That clip is bad. Don't show me that clip ever again. If you show me that clip, I'm suing you.
doing that right now.
That's why there's a bunch of purple-haired girls roaming the streets chanting, "There is only one solution, Antifada revolution." They do have a really good chant.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Why am I watching this? This is worse than EthanIsOnline.
God, that was so Cringe. What the hell does he mean purple-haired? What? Gay men really are the weakest link. To like immediately turn on purple-haired girls or whatever. Like that's very clearly like vice signaling homophobia. In
What?
like the I'm gay and homophobic.
What is he talking about?
Who does that? Dave Rubin. Does anyone know who that is?
This is probably one of the worst things he could have said,
he
knowing the
talking
type of
about?
person he claimed he used to be. He has no
Gay people are the weakest link? That's homophobic.
self-reflection and doesn't learn from his actions. I remember in another instance, he literally says he used to bully a gay kid because he was just projecting and secretly gay himself.
I ended up bullying a kid, and then we ended up being friends because I think we were both, I think he was gay and I was queer. So.
I don't think I've ever heard that. What the What? What? What?
You bullied him for being gay when you were gay?
Yeah, you know, kids have kind of a gaydar a little bit. He was either gay or autistic.
He was gay or autistic. Either. There's no difference between these two.
I don't know.
Not to mention, you're literally just doing the extreme leftist tactic of ostracizing a group for disagreeing with your political ideals. Ethan is a prime example of a leftist friendly firing.
It's like Ethan like gets mad at someone and he just like he just starts making out with them. Anytime he's mad at someone else, I'm just gonna assume that he wants to kiss them. That's epic.
Wrong think. The amount of pretentiousness here is extreme, as Ethan calls an openly gay man a homophobe for calling out generic virtue signaling Karens. Post writing note: from this point forward, let's play a game. Let's count how many times I say insinuate in this video. What Ethan is trying to insinuate by this statement is not even clear either, because he does not know how to formulate his thoughts concisely, but you can still gather what he's implying. Ethan is trying to detract from this man's ideas by using his sexual identity against him, calling him a weak link to being the gay counterpart of an Uncle Tom. Of course, Ethan would never say something like this so brazenly, because he'd rather virtue against absolutely opposing ideas instead of friendly firing on people that are supposed to be identity allies. Another part in this video here that really just shows how much of a pretentious virtue signaling wannabe good guy Ethan tries to be is when he misses a blatantly obvious sarcastic joke anyone else could understand.
I'm dying. I think this is...
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm a power gay at the Sundance Film Festival, and I'm gonna find some
Dude, get this off my screen. This is mental torture.
gorgeous Jewish producer to hook me up with a TV show, because I have a genius level IQ.
Guy who believes in IQ because he got really big number on it. I'll believe the racist ass IQ system.
Is IQ racist? I've never even heard that argument. Is IQ racist? What is going on? I'm like being mentally assaulted right now by these ideas. I feel like I'm in too deep.
It's telling me I'm smart.
To me, and most people watching this, understand this is a joke meant to poke at extremist conspiracy theorists who think they're incredibly intelligent for believing Jewish individuals are secretly in control of elite organizations. It's obvious. In fact, after watching this clip with other people, it was inferred by them that the entire clip Ethan viewed may have very well been a satirization of right-leaning people, the very thing Ethan is against. Of course, this thought doesn't occur to Ethan because he's so brain-run by internet lefty virtue that he doesn't even stop to consider this guy is actually on his side. Instead, Ethan decides to make this something entirely about race and knocks the concept of IQ as some esoteric concept made specifically to be racist. You can only gather that by believing a conspiracy yourself about how IQ scores are used to specifically discriminate against marginalized groups. But of course, Ethan would say this as he goes on to call...
Isn't IQ just a measurement of intelligence? Like they give you a test and then, like, what is racist about that? What, do certain groups not answer the IQ test as well? What's going on?
Whoever he wants, a Zionist, and claim right-wingers are warmongering individuals who dream for a military-driven ethno-state. You know, the typical delusional bread-tube rhetoric meant to pin their ideas against opposing ideas for the sake of fear-mongering on behalf of their beliefs.
I'm fabulously funny, and I single-handedly ended global anti-Semitism.
Some of the people chanting Intifada Revolution are Jewish. Marjorie Taylor.
I feel like isn't he clearly joking in that video? Isn't he clearly joking in that video, dude? Like he's being ironic.
Green's a Zionist. You know what I mean? That's whose side you're on. Ask yourself, why do Christian
IQ is racist and shit. You'd know if you didn't drop out of college. True.
Republicans love Israel so much? Maybe it's because it's like their ideal military state, racially segregated. Right-wingers love that shit.
But that's not the point of this video. The point of that segment right there is just to briefly highlight just how much Ethan insinuates extreme concepts while also pandering to what current...
Sounds kind of anti-Semitic to be on Israel, Ethan. You racist, bro?
Day woke Twitter children would typically consume. And I can tell he forces himself to be this way because even a somewhat intelligent person who is somewhat faking their ideologies could come up with better ways of driving home political nonsense without making vague.
To be honest, I don't think he's faking it. I think he actually believes this shit. I don't think anybody would go as far as to pull off the look that EthanIsOnline is pulling off if if they were like grifting. Nobody would do this to themselves.
When was the last time you watched cable TV?
Like, what is he wearing? Why is he wearing suspenders and a chain? Like, nobody would do this to themselves willingly, dude. Literally not a single person would do this. I'm sorry. There's just no way. I don't think he's a grifter. I think he's honest. I think he's honest with how he feels. How he feels is just kind of dumb, but I think he's being honest.
Almost dog whistle-esque statements. Ethan, we know what you're calling out for, and we know the insinuations you're making, or at least I do. It's not slick, and it's not sly. If you genuinely align with the rhetoric you're vaguely spouting, then say it with your chest and don't be a fraud.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is my problem with... He makes the implication in the Alex Rosen video that conservatives are pedophiles, but he won't outright say it. It's like, if you actually think that, just say it. I don't particularly like socialists online in general. The famous ones anyway tend to be pretty cringe. I wouldn't make the insinuation that they're all or something, you know? But if you think that, you should just make that insinuation. You should make that claim clear rather than dancing around it. And Ethan's general problem with Alex Rosen seemed to be more that he's a conservative and less that he catches or whatever.
Otherwise, it's extremely easy to draw the conclusion that you're just a performative grifter, which makes your credibility seem questionable, not that you had any left. I'm not a political commentator and outright refuse to be one, so let me be very clear. That segment right there was specifically to point out just how vague and pretentious Ethan is with his arguments. If it wasn't clear,
someone actually, I think a Cheeto showed me, Ethan'sOnline kind of used to be more of an anti-SJW type dude. If you go to his channel, he used to look kind of normal.
Onision irritates me to no end. His face is infinitely punchable, despite how much foundation he'll put on. He's inserted himself.
Like, what happened? You know? What happened?
Fit my agenda.
What happened to this guy? What did he start eating? What happened, man?
A year and a half ago, and he's still doing it.
Camera blurry.
He stopped for a while, but
we need to save him. We need to save him. Okay, we can go back
already, because if you actually take a second to listen to what he says, he's not even making any arguments or concise statements in regards to his beliefs. He's just saying vague statements for viewers to impose what they want to gather out of it, which is successful, as seen by the comments, which means he can be as insincere and as indirect as possible and still gather a bunch of...
Well, he knows his audience, right? All the breadtubers seem pretty afraid of their audience. Lonerbox did a pretty interesting clip about this. I wonder if I can find this, because he had known a bunch of lefty creators, basically. Yeah, this is a good clip.
Do you think working with DGG has strained bridges to other communities? They were all gone anyway. It doesn't take, because these leftist video essayists, and I know how their minds work because I've spoken to them in DMs and shit like that, they are so paranoid. They are so okay. Here's one thing I'll tell you. I'm gonna maybe start opening up a bit more about this stuff, because I'm not gonna name drop anyone, because that's just unfair. Leftist video essayists know what their audiences are like. They know their audiences are terrifying. You'll all learn. Everyone learns it very early. I learned it on my very first stream on my main channel. My very first stream when I had like 19k subs or some shit. And I was watching a Vosh clip because someone sent me a Vosh clip, and he was like, he like was talking about me. I was like, oh, that's funny. Vosh is talking about me. And then people in the chat were like, no, turn it off. We came here for you, not Vosh. We don't like Vosh. And they're like, oh, okay, so I guess we'll. And then I was thinking, oh,
like imagine being that afraid of your audience, like not even being able to talk about someone on stream. And this is why I feel the need to, like, I know it's kind of annoying, right, to constantly hear me be like, and it's corny too, to be like, I'm an edgy guy, like it's kind of right, like I get it, but the reason I do that is because I don't want to accumulate an audience of people who aren't cool with edgy jokes, and then sometimes at some point in the future they'll find out that I am, and they'll be pissed that I make, you know, up jokes, right? I don't want that audience. I'm terrified of accumulating that audience, which is why I'm very careful to curate how I act publicly, right?
Support from his grift. He also does this quite often, even when the topic of the video he's making isn't rooted in politics. Not to mention, again, for the millionth time, and sorry for repeating myself, his intense need to be pretentious and act as a holier-than-thou individual. One great example is his infamous modern art video.
I used to hate modern art. I used to think...
I actually don't think I've watched that video. I know of it. I think he criticizes critical in this video, but I haven't watched this video.
It was too simple, too easy. It's not like the Mona Lisa. That's art. I thought it was less valuable than something more realistic because it didn't take as much skill. I used to think that until I actually went to an art museum and I learned about the stuff I was looking at. I learned the contexts, the purpose, the skill behind making these pieces. And it started to make sense. And since then, I feel like I've only benefited from having more of an open-minded perspective about art.
During the start of this video, he opens up with a pseudo-intellectual conversation about how he used to dislike modern art and then says he learned to appreciate it by understanding things such as the skills and context behind it, but then fails to explain how, why, or what connected in his mind or the philosophy he came to form. Of course, instead of forming up a proper thesis.
To be honest, I don't think Ethan has a very in-depth philosophy. What is the hatred of modern art? Is it the idea that there's just like one dot on screen, or like there is more abstract? What is that? Bro, what is that? Jesus. Is it this that people have a problem with? I mean, this is kind of weird. I don't like that. I don't know. There's probably good modern art. I will say some of the most impressive art I've seen was when I went to the Vatican in August, and then I was in France like a week and a half ago, and I went to the Louvre. Some of the art is really, really impressive. The religious art in general is very cool. I don't consider myself a religious person, but certainly I could see how somebody who's religious would experience some reverence being in the presence of these beautiful, beautiful paintings of religious, you know, biblical events and stuff like that. The Mona Lisa was probably the least interesting thing that I saw. It was just kind of like whatever. It was kind of lame. I understand its significance historically, but I don't really care. I don't really care. According to my tour guide, the reason that, and I don't know if this is accurate, but she said that the reason why the Mona Lisa is famous is not because it was an amazing piece of art. It became famous in like the early 1900s because somebody stole it from the Louvre and it went missing for a few years. Because it's a small painting. You'd think the Mona Lisa is big, but it's like yay big. It's pretty small. And I guess somebody took it and put it under their coat and left, and people didn't know where it was, so it got printed in every newspaper that it was stolen, and then it became famous. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've been told. As a religious person, I'm jealous. Yeah, it was pretty cool. The Vatican was super cool. The religious paintings and the statues were pretty impressive.
Thesis, whether it was taking the time to write one out or sit down and think about it hours in advance before recording this video, he just goes straight to sponsor, only to return with this bullshit.
Of course, there's a political component, right? All art is inherently political.
Of course, there is a political component. All art is inherently political. Well, that's outright wrong. I don't think fanfictions of Dream SMP or art commissions for oddly rich furries are necessarily political. Terrible example, I know, but I figured the more obscure I make the first example, the more variations of art will come to mind that aren't inherently political. And I guarantee you it worked now that your mind is racing to find more examples internally. Even if you want more practical, formal examples with pedigree, such as Van Gogh's Starry Night, Pablo Picasso's self-portraits, or The Scream by Edward Munch, these were all examples of art that were considered ahead of their time, or leads in modern art that weren't interpreted as political. They were interpreted as reflections of the mental turmoil of someone's psyche. What all of these artists have in common, aside from being ahead of their time, and their art representing modernism in one way or another, is that they all struggled with mental illness respectively. So your statement is inherently wrong. The only reason you would push this argument as an opening is because
art critique is really just opinion, but a lot of people let right-wing propaganda cloud
oh my god,
their judgment of modern art, whether they realize it or not, all because it helps them feel better in not wanting to engage with it. In an ideal conservative world, art,
maybe some art is just shit. Maybe so you can just say some art is bad. Art is subjective, obviously, in a number of ways, but there is like an objective quality to something. I think we can all look at something and say this is bad versus this is good. You can appreciate it for being bad, like with movies. If there's a bad movie, you can appreciate it in that it is bad. But there is like such a thing as poor craftsmanship, right? Poor audio, poor editing, a story, things like this are very objective. You can still appreciate it in one way or the other, or maybe even things that will have that can do it with a purpose and it can become good. It can become kind of a meta thing. But regardless of that, I think you can objectively say like this is bad versus this is good. There are some drawings that are worse than others, right? This is like a cope for someone who makes bad art.
Is interpreted for people through a YouTube video full of lying, misinformation, emotional manipulation, false comparisons.
Ironic.
But this happens every day.
And there we have it. In an ideal conservative world, oh my god. So not only do you say that art is up to interpretation and can be interpreted in different ways, but you also go on to say that the way conservatives discuss and interpret it is wrong. Okay, and why is that?
PragerU has made at least a dozen videos fooling your old grandpa about modern art. All of them are completely nonsense and wrong. But why is it that I hear the same boring, shallow, fragile talking
Why are they nonsense?
points from people who should be way more in touch with culture?
Because they're out of touch with culture per your standards. And again, we're back to insinuations. You're insinuating that because they are conservative and full of right-wing ideologies, the way they interpret modern art is fundamentally incorrect, which is a load of bullshit. And the lack of credibility that this statement has is only reinforced by the fact that you're attempting to compare apples to oranges by forcing Charley as the topic of discussion into this video.
Yeah, critical is part of this somehow.
And you acknowledge that these things aren't comparable, but you do it anyways because you have a grudge against the fact that Charley somewhat holds the same ideas about modern art that a lot of conservatives have. And now you feel obligated to be this morally superior, coddling, condescending virtuoso because you want to force your personal leftist ideas into it and pander to an audience of people equally as moronic as you.
Listen,
You make art political? I mean, some art is political, like political comics and stuff like that. And even outside of that, art that's less obvious and you can look at it at first glance as not being inherently political can be political. I mean, for example, when I went to the Louvre, there was this painting. It was a bunch of, I don't know the name of it. It actually wasn't there. I think when I was there, they just had a picture of it or something. It was in storage or something. It was in London maybe. But it was a shipwreck, and basically on the shipwreck it was a story about a shipwreck, like a famous shipwreck, I think for France or something like that. And the story behind it is they were abandoned basically after the shipwreck. They were out at sea for weeks on like a piece of driftwood, and they started eating each other. And some of the political connotations that were in it that you may not have realized given the time period, if you don't know a lot about it, or if you just don't have a basic understanding of history, where there was like a black dude on it, which, you know, was kind of frowned upon to depict black people at that time in art in that way. And another thing was that there was a guy who was like expressing extreme despair, and he was looking more forlorn, he was looking depressed. And the implication behind that is that somebody was touching on mental health issues at the time, which was not really a conversation at that time, right? The Raft of Medusa. Let me look it up. The Raft of Medusa. Yes, this is it. Yeah. I don't think it was actually there at the Louvre when I went there, but they had like a picture of it, and the tour guide made a point to talk about it. Yeah. It's a pretty beautiful piece of art you can see here. And basically the black guy being depicted was frowned upon at the time. People didn't like that. And there's also, I think it's, this guy who's totally despondent and disconnected. He's not bored. The implication is that he was depressed and he was mentally detached from the situation. Basically, he had experienced trauma, which was not, I guess, a conversation at the time, basically. And that's pretty interesting. And there are political messages in it that you wouldn't understand unless you look at the art, right? By the way, I could be totally wrong about this. This is what my tour guide told me. I'm not an art expert, but I guess I'm just trusting that the tour guide was educated enough about the art in the Louvre. What makes this political? I just explained it. The religious stuff you were looking at in Europe was political because the church basically ran huge sections of the government. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There is a political edge. At the time, it probably wasn't viewed as political because it was just basically accepted. But yeah, the government was funding the stuff. But this is a really impressive piece of art. This is really cool. It's quite beautiful, I would say. As an art history student, you're doing good. Okay, well, I'm just repeating stuff I was told. But there is art that isn't inherently political, right? There is. Like if I look up Fortnite Rick and Morty, this is art, believe it or not. This is art. Somebody had to draw Rick, and somebody had to draw Morty, and then somebody had to, make 3D models of them in the game and program them. That's art. I don't know what the artistic message is behind Rick and Morty being in Fortnite, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is. Like what political message could I possibly get from this? You have to be a person. You do. Like what is the message there,
Yeah, I know his face is in the thumbnail and
something about capitalism.
Video
yeah, true.
It's kind of about Charley. But listen, it's not personal. I'm trying to compare content that realistically should have nothing in common. Fascist propaganda and gamer streamer should not be saying the same things. The difference is Prager is motivated and has an agenda. Charley is just being a useful idiot for that agenda with peace and love. I know it's...
Is he, or is he just expressing his opinion? Do you have to be a useful idiot for conservatives if you have the same opinion as them about water? Are you a useful idiot? To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to fully understand the complexity of Rick and Morty. That's true. And IQ is political. It's racist. Therefore, Rick and Morty is political. I was speaking out of turn. My bad.
It's not on purpose. Charley doesn't watch PragerU for his art analysis content. He probably didn't even get the talking points from them, but they're still saying the same thing. Charley's just an average guy with an average brain in his head. Florida average, but average. But it's
Florida average. I drink water. You know who else drank water? Hitler. Makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think.
Uncanny how similar normal average guy language can be to politically motivated propaganda. Content that we all know is dishonest. Listen, it's nothing personal. It's nothing against Charley. I've met him before. He's very nice. I just don't know why he's like this.
I don't have to highlight the...
Like what? What is the actual point he made in that video? I want to watch this video. EthanIsOnline. Modern art. You're wrong about modern art. Oh, I've watched some of this apparently. I wish I Remember what he said. All right, where is Moist Critical? Here we go.
I mean, the next exhibit is just a bunch of boxes in a synagogue. Like, that is explicitly something to experience, not something to own. And I think that's an even better version of art. The only thing, though, is Charlie never actually looked at what it was. He just saw a picture of boxes and didn't investigate any further. He's just looking at a picture of it. I don't think he knows what the whole thing is. And so he starts joking about what the piece could possibly be about, what crazy meaning that is going to be attributed to it.
Exquisite. Like, you have to ask yourself, what's in those boxes? Are we purchasing too much? It's a display of excess. And you see how the boxes aren't all lined up the same? There's a pattern to it. There's order in the chaos. And then you also have to wonder who packed these boxes. Is it Amazon workers that are miserable and you can feel
True.
That? Is it
He's
someone
woke.
like maybe a
He's
home
literally
business
woke.
with a family that packed the... There's just so many things you have to ask yourself. This really is a challenging piece.
And then he doesn't look up what it actually means. And he also doesn't understand even what he's looking at. So none of the jokes really land because Charlie isn't talking about what's in front of him. He's talking about what he thinks is in front of him. Charlie, you're making a fool out of yourself. There's so many more boxes than that. I think there are so many different ways to interpret this installation. And I think writing it off is a little aggressive. What, are you scared? Too many boxes? I mean, the fact that the boxes are filling a synagogue is significant. Charlie didn't even know that, even though it was written there. But Charlie was still so mad at the picture, he didn't even...
Is he mad?
Like, seek out what it was.
He's just making fun of it.
That's not even critique. That's just refusing to engage with art. Charlie's getting mad at this art because he doesn't understand it. And that's not even a neg on Charlie. He admits that he doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it, and he's not trying to. So no wonder you're...
Does he have to?
Frustrated. You have to try a little bit. And
Maybe you don't. Maybe some art is just like, who cares? I don't care. His entire tone is so condescending. I want to give him a swirly. Yeah, he needs a noogie.
comments of all these videos, you see the same like NPC talk.
He needs a wet willy. He needs a right in the ear. One of those guys.
Point stuff like, if you have to explain why art is good, plenty of classical art still needs an explanation to make sense. It's called context. You can appreciate the aesthetics of art without context, but you're not going to understand the piece without it. Starry Night takes on an entirely different meaning when you realize that it was painted from an asylum. And that was the view that Van Gogh had through his window. Learning about art can be really fun when you care, and it can deepen your appreciation for art in general. Art is a Scam is the next video we're watching. It starts out and Charlie's watching this video with like 400 views from an art gallery in Portland. And the first thing it shows are these acrylic half circles glued to the wall. Charlie is just a little too excited about hating on this one and misses the point of it completely, which is a bummer because this installation is actually really cool.
It's beautiful.
Is it?
I'm starting to tear. Oh. Wow. This is incredible.
Dude, I love Voice Critical.
I need to pay a visit to this.
Each disc is color-coded, and that color matches a frequency that the app the artist developed translates into a sound. This isn't a visual exhibit, it's an audio exhibit. So yeah, when you're bullshitting and not paying attention, it does look like you're pointing your phone at a stupid orb, but I don't know. That's like the only time I've ever seen.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't watch this guy. I can't watch this guy.
The issue here, but I will anyways. I don't agree with your opinion because it's too similar to those of the people I disagree with. You're a victim to propaganda, so allow me to re-educate you. That's what Ethan is doing here, while attempting to come off as some intellectual, moral superior. If you're so intelligent, have you considered that with or without politics, people can come to the same conclusions naturally without needing political influence at all? Have you considered that art is up to interpretation and doesn't have to have shared ideas between all people? Oh, you have actually. You spent the introduction of this video explaining all of this.
Art critique is really just opinion. The difference is PragerU's content is motivated and has an agenda. Charlie is just being a useful idiot for that agenda, with peace and love. I know it's not on purpose. Charlie doesn't watch PragerU for his art analysis content. He probably didn't even get the talking points from them, but they're still saying the same thing. Charlie's just an average guy with an average brain in his head. Florida average, but average.
Then why do you feel the need to superimpose your beliefs onto his in an attempt to correct his? It's because, again, you're attempting to be a virtue-signaling, pretentious moron that forces politics into anything because you think it's the intellectual thing to do.
True. What is Ethan posting these days? What's he up to? I'm gonna do a little check-in with our friend. Idiot. Not green. Ethan's online. The sound of freedom was a scam. They're lying to you. Zionist Karens are out of control. Greg Gutfeld, America's worst comedian. Guy's a Patreon? Bruh. That's crazy. $270 a month? Yeah, that seems about right. The Ethan channel is really where it's at, though. This is where the fire content is. This guy is the GOAT, okay? This is the greatest content on YouTube. The Fortnite pastor is creepy and embarrassing. The pigs of TikTok?
TikTok has a lot of pigs on there. And I'm not just talking about cops or the barn animals. I'm talking about being a fascist right-wing weirdo. I figured we'd start cataloging the pigs of TikTok in a little series called The Pigs of...
Dude, people like Ethan who just call everybody a fascist are gonna they're gonna flip the Overton window right in the opposite direction. Everybody's gonna be right wing on the internet within like 1 year. It's happening.
TikTok.
Biden died in 2021. He didn't have an inauguration, it was a funeral. Look at the guy's earlobe. And here, we'll take a look at Biden.
This guy's cool.
Now look at Biden's earlobe.
yeah, true, he's right.
Take a look at a picture of Biden.
The music is too loud.
He became a president, supposed president, which is all bullshit lies. We already
Well, the music's vibey, so it should be loud.
know who's running the real country. Check out Biden's earlobes now.
What? How is this video 7 minutes?
Right.
Being used to take on the deep state as Treaty Act 501.
This guy seems right. I don't know why Ethan's shitting on him. He seems based.
But not sure the actual name. It is a private mission, wartime
Thank
President
God.
Donald.
I cannot believe the music went on this long. I swear to God, I was like, it's got to be like a minute and then it probably cuts out, right? There's no way it goes the whole 7 minutes. And at this point, I was just like, yeah, it's going the whole 7 minutes. I resigned myself to my fate.
Joe Biden has been executed already
What's he looking
for high
at?
treason.
What?
The man you see
True.
is not Joe Biden.
That's literally this guy's right.
There are not
Joe Biden's not real.
There are no U.S. troops in Ukraine. 2018,
what?
Putin and Trump have decided to cooperate.
This guy's a genius. I don't know why Ethan hates him. The guy is finally speaking the facts.